my first 10 years of my career were advertising agencies. So we were working with brands like Pepsi, Zolo, the smartphones, Hike Messenger, Airtel. And my role was to make sure that, the ads are actually delivering impact for the brands and sort of working with clients to, shoot ad films and things like that. So companies like Saatchi and Saatchi, I don't know if you guys have heard Rediffusion Vinyl, Sapient Nitro is a huge one. They started a digital wing in India. And then most recently, Jack in the Box, where we did Cola Very D and we released that track. That was the first track to actually make, first video ever in India to cross 100 million views on YouTube back in the day. But yeah, so these were, all advertising agencies working with different brands. And my focus was in the later half of these 10 years to start advertising agencies and grow them up really fast. So I was the first employee in Sapien Nitro, in Jack in the Box, for example, and then how to grow them, from 0 to 10 in like a very short period of time. And that's when the NBA was launching in India. They wanted to sort of launch in India, and they said, "Can you help set up the business here? And how do we grow basketball? Is there a chance in a cricket crazy nation?" And it's like sort of like a big challenge. What happened was at the NBA, we actually started with a lot of grassroots work. So we started going to schools and training 6 million kids every year on how to play basketball and setting up facilities, coaches, all those kind of things. Very interesting work. We created a lot of content saying people watch more basketball, and you combine that with culture, and then people will start watching basketball, understand what is the sport about, because emotion is what really drives people to watch anything. And after a lot of research, actually, we realized that after 3 years of research, we realized that the way to make anybody a sports fan is by getting their parents to watch it. Because kids, when they're growing up, they'll watch it only if their parents watch it. It was a really cool insight. I thought I'll share that. But so then we actually started, talking to parents and getting folks, in bars to start drinking and watching. But the games come at 7 a.m., so that's also damn hard to do. So then we tried theaters and PVR. Then we tried a lot of content. So a lot of things happened. When I joined, we were 100,000 people talking about the NBA every month on social media. And I think in 5 years, we were at about 22 million people talking about the NBA on social media. So it was a combination of a lot of things. What I was doing there was I was licensing the content to Sony and other OTT apps, basically, and heading marketing for them also. So what we did, for example, was put Hindi commentary on Sony, so that a lot of people who only speak Hindi will understand the game and bring context. Got like Khamba from AIB to do commentary and make it trying to make it funny a little bit. And, so all of those things we did, and introduce graphics on the screen which were more Indian, and so it worked, I think, to an extent. And but I think sports is a long game, so I think the NBA will have to keep trying that for about 10 to 15 years. So yeah, that was also really exciting. And now I'm here, and the reason I think I made the switch primarily was two reasons. One, I was always focused on bringing smaller companies and making them big, and so an entrepreneurial spirit was always there. And Sony Music, however, was like my first large corporation with like 80 to 100 people, and I realized that moving and making things is really really slow in such organizations because there are a lot of people involved to get things done. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're focused on innovation and trying to make change and get people to adopt new behaviors, it's really really slow. And so I wanted to build something, and I was like, if I'm building companies for other people, then might as well do it, on my own. So that was one big reason. The other was also I'm a little bit of an idealist, so I really do believe that the technology of blockchain has really really strong use cases that helps upset existing power structures a little bit. I mean, when Tim Berners-Lee did invent the inception of the internet, the goal was that the internet sort of is a more equitable economy ultimately, unlike the real world, which was more the rich get richer and the powerful remain powerful. But what ended up happening in the next 20 years after early 1990s was that even today, more than 70% of the revenue that that is generated on the internet goes to, the FANG companies, right? It's Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, and Netflix. And a lot of the creators, and you and the creators, both the consumers and the creators, is the value that they're creating is actually going, to the companies that sort of own the centralized platforms and the aggregated platforms. And so I do believe that the blockchain gives it, a really, really the chance to be more equitable. I mean, we know a lot of blockchains are still centralized, but it is like, I think, progressive centralization was something that we were talking about earlier, and so I think that's what it's going to be over a period of time. So I do believe that, strongly believe that the blockchain is going to actually impact creators and the economy on the internet to be more, more equal, and get more people to get a chance to sort of come out and own the value that they create. There are a lot of projects out there that are also helping, saying that, the data that you create on the blockchain is going to be owned by you, and therefore there's one called so I don't remember the name of the project, but there's the CEO is called Emily, and the project actually says that, the DIDs, which are the identifiers of data, are actually going to be tracked, and you are going to own your own identifier on the blockchain, and therefore you're going to be able to you know get corporations or companies or projects or platforms to get access to that data at will. And if you want to get paid for it, you can also get paid for it. So you own your data as a consumer of the value that you create and the traces that you create on the blockchain. And as creators, I think there's a lot of potential, and we can go deeper into a little bit into eDAO, and I think then we'll understand what we are. I'll explain what we're trying to build in the creator economy a little bit. So eDAO is actually Sandeep Nailwal's brainchild only, who's the co-founder and CEO of Polygon. There are a lot of entertainment projects sort of that were coming into Polygon, and there's sort of no specific area of focus where the people were able to handhold these projects and tell them the right way to do things. Like, you've seen Amitabh Bachchan NFTs and Salman Khan NFTs in the Indian blockchain space, which were essentially not very successful, even though they may look like on the surface. Even though, I mean, we have 100 million crypto wallets in India, but NFT sales are not really taking off in any meaningful way. So a lot of these, media, Bollywood, music, the music industry, a lot of these guys are trying to do NFTs, but I think the narrative is missing on how to do it. So that's what we're trying to change with eDAO and trying to help people make the shift to Web3. So I think you are here already. So you probably are aware of why Web3 and why it makes sense. I think you're already probably convinced about it. But supercharged patronage is one point I can talk about a little bit more. What that means is, so a lot of artists come to us and say, oh, but there's only, what's the largest use case of the blockchain today? So actually POAPs, more than 500,000 people have interacted with POAPs, for example, or ENS addresses, right? Those are also 500,000 or more, but that's it. That's the scale. So a lot of people are like, oh, but there's no scale, an artist like Arman Malik or someone like Akshay Kumar would come and say, but there's only 500,000 people on it, or 1 million people. Like, why should I be on the blockchain or work with it, or even consider being on it? And so one statistic that we give them is, if 25 people bought your NFT, or forget NFT, in any way decided to support you as an artist, and bought one token for 0.1 ETH, it would be it'll be twice the revenue that you would create if you would get 5 million views on YouTube, right? So what it means is that people who are passionate about about an artist, about an IP, about a culture, and they want to sort of own it or they want to support it, the Web3 and blockchain sort of allows that to happen, and therefore it's supercharged patronage and not necessarily just scale. If you still need to reach 3 billion users for your content, be on Facebook, and there's no competition sort of with Web2. It's simply saying that there's a different use case here that's much more valuable. and therefore, Web3 makes sense. So, this is something we're saying that, Web3 is the engine the engine of technology that exists, and, sort of eDAO is the experience layer that we want to build on top of it. One of our philosophies is that, how liquidity pools have transformed DeFi or decentralized finance. We feel like experience pools will amplify NFTs, and how NFTs will make sense is through that. Right now, what's happening is NFTs are simply a trading mechanism. So one person owns an NFT and they sell it for profit, and this keeps happening until the last person standing with the NFT is the biggest fool, right? Or the biggest fan, which is not necessarily the case. Majority of people are still in it to make a quick buck. So we're saying, can we create value for NFTs in themselves? In owning an NFT, what does that mean? And how can that be an experience in itself? And that's what we mean by experience pools. So what do we do? And this is not really a plug. I can skip this. But the fact is that how we are helping. So for example, some of the brands that we have in India that we are working with, we are helping them through knowledge advisory. Polygon obviously is a big supporter of like an investor and is incubated by Polygon. So the Polygon user base and dApps are also available for us to work with. A lot of marketing, which is the hype bomb. Primitive is like an NFT studio that we launched, which is like 15, 20 Unreal game engine developers, illustrators, designers, storytellers, writers. So how to design the right NFT drop, So for example, like I was giving you the example of Amitabh Bachchan and Salman Khan NFT. They just like put a photo and release that. But what we are doing is we're saying, what's the subculture underneath? What is the fan base? What are they passionate about? What are they excited about? What do they want from their celebrity, or from, let's say, Star Wars? What do Star Wars fans want? So we'll do a lot of analytics, social analytics, and understand that fan base, and then try to design the right Web3 experience for that fan base, and that's what Primitive does. And obviously, Cope Studios, which is now acquired by Polygon, is also a partner, and Sai Krishna, who's the CEO, is also the CTO of eDAO. So we also help with the tech stack when it comes to brands who are coming in, want to launch a platform, want to launch a NFT drop. All of that also happens. So we're saying, when you have all these NFTs from all these different brands that you love, like you love music, you love film, you love art, what do you do with it? What is the experience that you can have with it? And so what we're saying is, when you're acquiring these NFTs, and we will launch them for damn cheap. That's we want everyone to have NFTs and not make it exclusionary. And so we're saying, we're going to launch 100,000 passes called the Strand, under which all these different IPs will be available, or these cultural things will be available for you to collect as NFTs: music, art, gaming, film. And this will sort of be your cultural footprint, your cultural genome that you will create online. If you are a person beyond just the clothes that you wear or the thoughts that you think, you're also what you're passionate about. And those are sort of the NFT footprint that you're creating online, is what we're calling the Strand. We are saying that it'll be unique but not scarce. It'll be 100,000, not like a 10,000 NFT drop. So everybody can have it, and we'll keep releasing more. We're saying it'll be inexpensive but exclusive, like I said. These are some of the partners. So T-Series, which is the world's largest YouTube channel and India's largest music label and production house. So for example, they'll be launching House of Gaming. Metra is actually an art collective in New York that owns the works of Banksy and other great artists in the US. So we'll be launching their stuff. And there are some other partners which we can't reveal right now. Weird Ass there is actually Weird Ass, who actually also wants to take the plunge into NFTs and wants to create content that cannot be released on Web2 platforms, for example. More edgy, more dark, for example. So and Netflix won't release that, right? So he wants to create a gated platform that Web3 can sort of change that or solve for that. So we are saying, once you have all these NFTs and you have this cultural experience, the cultural footprint that you're building, what is the experience of it? The experience is, we're saying, your digital twin or your avatar online that you're going to be creating is going to be accessorized with all these different things. So, if you are a Star Wars fan, then your avatar can hold, a mask from it. For example, you can wear a mask from it if you have that NFT collection. And this digital identity avatar is going to be, you can go to a Zoom meeting, you can go to your Google Meet with your avatar, and for example, take it there, right? You can put it as a PF, profile picture on your Twitter, on your Facebook. You can actually walk into a metaverse with it. So all this cultural experience that you're collecting online, which is cheap, inexpensive, and not scarce anymore, is going to have an experience layer of your identity that you're going to be. And this is a technology called MetaHuman. It's Unreal based, very high fidelity avatars that you can create. Just take a few angles and selfies on your phones, and you can actually create a very high digital. This is actually Sai, the co-founder of Cope Studios, and his avatar that he created. So that's the experience that NFTs can have. One of the experiences. The other experience is actually something which we call a biome, which is saying your metaverse social media page in a way. So if you have an Instagram profile, how does that look in the metaverse? That depends on what are the NFTs that you collect. So different elements from those NFTs will again form that world, which will be created by a single click. Is the technology that we are trying to create right now. So one-click metaverse that will actually be the experience layer for all your NFTs, which will have like social layers, gamification layers, so you can talk to your friends, they can come into your worlds, do things, exchange, trade NFTs, things like that. This is just some partners. Unstoppable Domains is a really cool one because it's like the about.me for Web3. So anyone who has the strand of the collector's pass will have like, for my name would be Mairu.eDAO. And that would be sort of my identity page on the internet. So that's what we're trying to build there. This is really cool. Socketable NFTs is something that we're working on, which means I don't know if you guys saw what Vitalik said about soul-bound NFTs and what they are, but that's essentially an NFT you cannot trade, and it's only given to you as as in like a degree from a college cannot be traded or exchanged or passed on. It's a soul-bound NFT is something that you own and cannot be therefore passed on. And so what we are creating is your identity is soul-bound, but culture is socketable. So your music NFTs, your art NFTs, your film NFTs, all of those things you have can be socketed and become a part of your identity, but your identity remains soul-bound. And so that's something that doesn't exist at the moment. So we are trying to build that. Um, what we are breaking is saying that there's no need for scarcity to create value in NFTs, for example. What we are saying is fragmented NFT journeys don't have value, where you have different NFTs across different platforms, different wallets. They don't really mean anything unless you keep reselling them. So we want to have your experience layer so that everything comes together. And right now it seems like most metaverses are empty, that exist online. There are very few people who are engaging with those metaverses. So how can we change that, and how can we create value there as well? Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Are there any questions or anything? Anybody wants to ask? Yes. So by experience pools, we mean all of those things that sort of I talked about, in the sense that all the experiences that you can have with NFTs right now are, first of all, zero. Right now, the experiences that we are creating are going to be like, the identity is an experience that you have of yourself in Web3. But when you pool all these experiences from all your friends and your social circle, and sort of you can have fun with that, and be able to interact and engage with that. I think that's what we mean by experience pool, and that's what we feel will create value with NFTs rather than just flipping them. So yeah. Yeah.
Hello, am I audible? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we spoke to Manish Pandey, I think a few days back, and we asked him regarding this, since we are also building a project, something similar to this. And his opinion was, in the Indian market, there isn't really a demand for a Web3 per se, because the creators themselves aren't educated. And secondly, they don't want to branch out into anything apart from just brand sponsorship and creating content? So like, how did you build a market for this? Or yeah,
Still building.
okay.
But yeah, the short answer is we're still building it. But the fact is that if there is value to be driven, then creators will come. What do creators want? What does an artist want? For example, an artist wants their art to be consumed by people and to be enjoyed, and like they want that recognition for their work, right? And the second thing that they want is being able to monetize and live off that art, so they don't have to do anything else. They can continue to enjoy doing what they do best, which is create art, right? And how can that happen? When they become economically sustainable, for example. And that's where, I mean, if you guys are really interested in this, in this topic, then you should do this course called the Creator Economy by Lee Jin, Lijin. It's a free course. It was actually not free until few weeks ago, but she's just made it free for everybody. It's brilliant because it talks about your question on why should creators care about Web3, and the fact is that if you're able to create, okay, here's a good example. Right now, if TikTok shut down, I lost my 5 million followers, for example, on TikTok, right? So I'm dependent on that platform's existence, one. Two, Instagram just changed their algorithm a few weeks back, and there's a huge uproar. Kim Kardashian, all these people, they actually reversed that algo change because that algo change actually affected the lives of many, many creators. It cut their reach down, cut their engagement, all of that, right? And therefore, monetization.
Right.
So, as a creator, your fate depends on the platforms to be able to make money. And so, what the blockchain really does is says you can create immutable relationships with your fan bases, which will not change. They will always remain on the blockchain, right? How you choose to engage with them, how you choose to monetize those relationships, there are many ways to do that also. But that's the number one sell for creators to say why it makes sense to be on Web3 in the first place.
Right. So I had I didn't read the whole book, but there was like a small excerpt of it on YouTube. Something about you just need 1,000 super fans. Yeah, right. So that's basically what got me inspired to like do something like this. But it doesn't seem like in India creators are really open to it. But like you were saying, you're still building a market for it. So
yeah, we've got actually. See, Veerdas is excited about it.
Right.
There is a use case for him. Who are the other creators we are working? We are working. I can't actually tell you the names because this is actually, even though it's a closed event, but a lot of creators are excited. They want to do something. But the fact is, like, what has happened so far? There are these 10 NFT platforms that exist in India. Like what happened with Bollycoin, what's happened with the Gari token. Is the projects haven't really delivered a lot of value for their token holders or for fans, and therefore there is just bad PR. Plus, the regulation isn't helping, the government isn't helping, right? So people are just a little bit scared about, does it make sense? Should I do it? Like, what is this? Like, does it even work? So that's why we try to build this company as eDAO and say that, if we can do the right narrative, if we can study what the fans want, what the creators want, and get them to meet, then it may work.
Fair.
So we also don't know if it's going to work or not, but we're just putting all our eggs in this one basket for now.
Makes sense. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Ankit and me are like building together. So at the moment, what I see in the problem in the ecosystem is like there are three. One is the education that he mentioned, and the second I see is the management layer. Like the creators just want to keep on creating the content, and like the Web3 managers are like missing, just like the Web2 managers. And the third I see is the gating mechanism. There should be like the gating. Only the people who are holding the token should be getting the access. So what are the other problems that you have discovered in the system and that is yet to be solved? So yeah.
Can you just recap the three problems? Gating?
Yeah, one is the education layer that creators are not aware like how to use Web3 and tokenomics and everything. And the second is the management layer. Like creators cannot be like all day, managing their own social profile. In the Web2 we have like managers. So in the Web3 there is like these Web3 managers missing. And the third is the gating. Though people are building like Collabland, Guild XYZ, but I don't see that level of customization in this space for the gating. And the other I want to hear from you.
Sure. I mean, the second one, no, the manager problem is not really a problem, because the same manager is also like we're talking to the same managers for Web3 also. By the way, yeah, the other artist we're talking to is Divine, and they are really excited to do something like Gully Gang. So we're probably going to be doing something with them also. But yeah, so the management is the same. The education layer will help solve the artist manager problem. You educate them, and the same manager can do this also. But I think there are no other problems that we are facing, except regulation is the only single problem, I think, that needs to be solved for mass adoption of Web3 in India. Even though the government is, I think, pretty friendly with blockchain as a technology, I don't think that's a problem. But people just keep using the word crypto all the time, and so therefore it becomes harder. So I think it's the perception and regulation. These are the two things that we need to sort of slowly keep building, keep working on it, keep chipping on it, keep evangelizing and explaining to people what the technology is and what it really does. And then I think the rest of them are just very, very small issues that sort of can be solved.